Welcome to the One for the Road podcast. My name is Mr. K. Alongside me, as always, is C Squared. We welcome in
Yo,
again our very special guest, Larry Fisher from Brooklyn, New York, the people's artist. Larry has a preview of his next chapter in the Serling Continuum. Take it away, Larry.
All right. First, I just want to show you a little bit of my office, and if you wondered why I was such a weird guy, maybe some of this stuff explains it.
Action
I'm
figure.
Larry, that's a cool
Yep.
looking office, man.
Yes.
I got a voodoo head on top of a heart. That was
A
the
few
inspiration for
books.
a few. There's more over here. This is one room of the books. There's actually a second room of books.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. And here's the Max Headroom's Guide to Life,
Cool.
which I had the book. I never read it, but now that I started the Max Serling Fest, I figured let me read this book, and it's a really weird little fun little book.
That's cool.
Believe it or not, like what could possibly be in a Max Headroom book, but it's actually pretty funny. Okay, so tonight's story, I don't even have a title for it yet. Tonight we enter a world where transcendence was once common as breath, a world where a segment of the population of Evermore could slip between dimensions the way others slip between dreams. But something has gone wrong. The former psychic aristocracy has lost their ability to connect. Their minds have gone silent. Their spirits have gone dim. The beatniks from outer space cannot speak to them, bound by cosmic law. And so, Max Serlingfest, that would be me, Spammy, our boy genius, and C Squared, who make sure I stay focused and don't spin out, and Ruben, our pop collector of ancient artifacts, have traveled to Evermore to see if they can help a society regain connection and find out what rituals will keep a world alive. Max Serlingfest, Spammy, C Squared, and Ruben are transported by the beatniks from outer space. They arrive where the original signal came from. The air feels charged, like a radio station broadcasting on a frequency only the spiritually attuned can hear. That's Ruben's specialty. The circle of artifacts sits in the center. This stuff is arranged with a kind of intuitive geometry we find a lot on Earth. Reuben steps forward, his eyes wide, his breath catching like he's seeing the bones of the Evermores laid out in a pattern. Look for objects that look like garbage, but something attracts you to it, and bring it back for Max to analyze. Reuben picks up a bone. It's been carved from a large creature. He turns to Max. First, can you tell me if this creature still lives? Max looks at it, turns the screen off his headgear off, and plays a few notes from the bone flute. I don't know if the creature is still alive, but what a beautiful sound. Spammy says, well, that's reassuring. Perhaps don't play anything else on that instrument till we find out if the creature is still alive. It's a pretty big flute. Music might not calm the savage beast when you are playing a tune on what used to be your grandfather's firmer. C Squared picked up a figure which resembled a chess piece. Look at these symbols on this piece. If the Evermores play a game like chess, I could learn it and maybe learn something about why this culture is dying. Max, what do you think? Max looked at it and then ate the piece. I can give this back to you when I'm done analyzing it. C Square said, that's okay, Max. I will take just the analysis. You can keep chewing away. Max coughs up the piece. This is carved from very Vairati crystal. The symbols shift when viewed from different angles. Was it a game? C squared asked. Sort of, Max says. It was part of a test. Spammy leans in. Ruben's eyes widen. C squared nods, confirming what he suspected. The Evermores used to play a game, a ritual disguised as strategy. Each piece represented a potential member of the intellectual community, but the symbols on this was added after all the pieces were destroyed by the intellectual class. These markings were carved by a new religious class, back when science and spirituality were trying to make a partnership. Spammy whistles. Reuben mutters. C squared says, so there was a time when it wasn't just the smartest people who could be in charge. Max nods. The cosmos seem to agree that societies need connections, intuition, empathy, ritual, and imagination. This piece is a reminder that the Evermores were once chosen not just for intellect alone, but for their ability to transcend. C squared adds, they abandoned the game, and the game abandoned them. Reuben holds the piece in his hand. This artifact is telling us where to go next. Let's gather some other artifacts and head to the city. In the city, the situation becomes obvious to C squared and the team. The leaders are barricaded in glass towers. They are hoarding food and believe the religious groups are spreading hate towards the intellectual class. Paranoia is spreading like a virus, and they think that's why joy is spreading around among the residents. They're happy that the upper class are suffering. But the residents believe in connection, frequency, intuition, and psychic literacy, not dogma. They are the ones who created the original game of Ascension. They are the ones who sent out the signal to the beatniks from outer space. Max says, there's a parade here every day, and here comes the echoists. Are they the good guys? For some, they are good, not for us. The echoists emerge from the parade like a glitch in reality. Their uniforms are a fusion of ancient religious vestments and proto-military armor, designed to imitate and confuse. They wear helmets like Vairathi priest crowns, but sharpened into angular weapons. They wear robes split down the sides, giving them the silhouette of both monks and soldiers. They look like a cult that militarized itself, like a religion that forgot its god. A leader approaches, Max and Spammy, C squared and Reuben. You follow me or die on the spot. You are detained for questioning by the Echoist Council. A figure steps out from behind the pillar of fractured stone. He's a resident, one of the people who signaled to the beatniks from outer space for help. He raises a small artifact, a signal stone shard, and taps it twice. The air vibrates. The echoists freeze. Their helmets flicker. Their breastplates hum loudly and knock down the group. The resonant whispers, run! End of part one.
Oh, very good.
There was
Very
a
cool.
lot of good nuggets of goodness in
Yes.
there, Larry, that I could comment on. There were some real nuggets.
Yeah, please do. I mean, that's the idea. What I want. Here's my thinking about how this all started to begin with. Oh my God, I got to show you this. Let me see if I can get this up for you guys. I found this in my notes. It's a rejection clip from the Twilight Zone magazine from 1983.
Oh, nice.
and so I've been writing rejected Twilight Zone stories pretty much all my life. I mean, let me show you notebooks. Can you guys see? This is not. There's a second row behind.
Your camera
These are all stories.
froze. Oh, there it goes.
Oh,
It
the camera
unfroze.
froze?
It's unfrozen now.
Can you see?
Yes, yes.
I will
Boxes.
never boxes of writing notes. It's over 40 years of writing. I wrote every day,
Nice.
and I don't know. I just wrote, and when I had won some awards, and then in college and stuff, and then I sent out stuff, and I got tired of sending stuff out, but I continued writing.
That's good. That's good.
That's
So
fabulous.
Your
so
writing's
now
really good.
so now you get all my rejections.
That you know what?
Oh, your
Maybe I should
writing.
play some. Maybe I should play some of the rejected songs in return, there, Larry.
All right.
I like that idea. Yeah.
Did
You know,
did
I mean, that's kind of the idea of where I'm going now with the stories is that do the work and just don't worry
Right.
about the results of exactly of success in the way that is typically formed. I have 40 years of
Exactly.
stories. Let me read it. You know, I should type of. Most of my stories are handwritten. I just like writing by. I just like the feel of a pen.
Oh, yeah.
I used to type a lot as well. I want to be one of those guys who has a typewriter that's connected to my computer. I like
Yes.
the feel of the old
The
typewriters.
keys. Yeah,
you?
the clack.
Yeah.
Back.
Well,
I like the sound of the
you
keys.
make me you make me think of the Naked Lunch.
Yeah,
The typewriter is a key character in the show.
yeah. You know what? I gotta rewatch that. I forgot about that. What an
Yes.
interesting man William Burroughs was.
He was a character.
Yeah, I mean, you know his history, yes, with the trying to shoot the
William
apple
Tell.
off.
Well, the William
Oh,
Tell thing
yes.
is in there, and
Yes, that's right. Yeah, just for people who don't know, William Burroughs is an important writer. He's a weird writer. He's not always easy to read because he doesn't want to be understood quite the same way that you would want to understand the story. He's very much involved in believing in the cut up theory of writing, which was to take things from different places and cut them up and put them together, and he believed that would have its own reality of understanding. Uh,
yeah,
Kind of
and
interesting.
so I said that book is a story within a story within a story. And the reason that that comes to mind when you said the whole clack of the typewriter is the typewriter is the bridge from the first story of him being the bug exterminator to being a secret agent when the
Yeah,
typewriter starts talking back to him.
right. My God, I haven't seen that movie since it opened. Everything that I say now, everything that I pick up to read, and every movie that I see, oh, I haven't seen that in 50 years. I should really see
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy. All
That's
right, so it, now in terms of the story, C squared, you said you had some thoughts on it. Do you have anything else besides the
well. I was
not
gonna
to
make
put you on the spot?
I was gonna make a a wise laugh about let's hope the animal is not still alive because he's walking around on one leg And you did throw in the word femur there. But the other there was another piece. Give me a second to rehash that. I was thinking, Larry, even before you said it, about, because I have been messing around with very very slightly the ancient Oriental technique called qigong, and I think that's how it's pronounced, Han. And that is about energy and thought and exercise and all kinds of stuff like that. But you were talking about he couldn't get a connection across dimensions, Han. And that is ironically a kind of a thought of all that old Oriental philosophy of energy, Han. Like the one of the first exercises is to push the energy back, believing that the Earth has a magnetic core, which I think that may have been established. You never know, but I think somebody established that you are pushing the energy down into the Earth's magnetic core. And then as you lift up your arms, you're pulling it back out. And so it's ironic. And some of the other thought patterns they think about that is they're all about energy. So maybe you can get that in there. The whole point of thinking about one item uh, when you are meditating, like focusing on one item and trying to only focus on that item. You cannot let any other thought into your head except that item. And the reason being, and the reason being for that is that everything that you do in your physical existence is expanding energy. So you are trying to minimize the expanding of energy by only focusing on that one thing. And when you focus on that one thing, you have the ability, it opens up the ability of things like you were talking about, um uh, like astral projection and stuff of that nature, or you said a connection across dimensions. That is the whole kind of thought pattern there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there was
Go
one
ahead, John.
verse you said that reminded me of what C squared says is you said the air is charged.
No,
Yes.
that was
Remember that.
another one. Good one, Mr. K.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe in that stuff. I really do. And I learned from I don't know. Did I ever tell you about how I used to be punished when I was a kid in school?
No,
No?
let me guess,
No.
a paddle
Okay.
with holes
So
in it.
So, my let me give you just a little bit of my family roots. My family are Holocaust survivors, and my mom was a single mom with me living in the Bronx, and she had this notion that I should go to a yeshiva, which is where it was and it was for kids who were Orthodox, and I wasn't raised Orthodox. So now I'm in this school and they know I'm an outsider. And and by the time, but I'm 5 years old when I go to first grade, and it's amazing how by the time kids are 5 years old, how much they take in what their parents teach them to be. But I wasn't taught those same religious ideologies as these other kids. I was a complete
Right.
outsider, and the rabbis would throw shit at me and hit me, and I was an outsider, and they were trying to break me to just believe what they believed, but it wasn't sticking for me, and so I would be punished periodically and stuck in the corner of a room, you know, uh, And I just love that. I just
And,
loved being punished and isolated and just having time to myself to just be in my own headspace. I was meditating at the age of 5 years old. I was already meditating
Wow.
and just,
and
in my own headspace. I was never upset when I was punished.
and things happen, sometimes happen for a reason, Larry, and
Yeah.
that just goes to show you, um, uh, that just goes to show you that there is this whole element, which I've had this discussion with multiple people. There is this whole element across society that believes that you have to be in line with their thought patterns or or else. And so and you know what, that the fact that you were able to go to the corner, and actually it almost became part of a game, or you enjoying that scenario, like, I'm going to do this because I'm really tired of this class and I need to go be in my own headspace, made you stronger,
Oh,
not
yeah.
them stronger, and
Right.
it made you
Right.
stronger. So they're actually, people like that are actually not very smart. They're not
Right.
very intelligent because they have no ability to understand the what the outcome of their actions are. They are so wired on their own actions, and what they think they know, that they are unable to open up their minds and actually view, like, well, what might really be happening here? Why does Larry act out? And really, because he doesn't want to be part of what he does not want to be the head of the class. And you
Right.
know,
Yeah. What was funny about that too is that we would read portions of the Bible, and then it would be it would be read in Aramaic, and then it would be translated, and then there's all kinds of rabbis who would say what these things meant, what the portions mean, and I would always raise my hand and have another opinion about what these
Oh,
and so and so I didn't understand. I thought, like, okay, these guys have ideas of what things meant, and I also had ideas of what
yeah.
these things meant. I didn't know that only those rabbis were allowed to have opinions of what these biblical portions meant.
So did you get this inner strength and knowledge, you believe, from your mom? Or is it just you? I'm just
You know,
curious.
okay, I'll tell you one more family story, and then you'll get to see how weird I was raised. So my mom's the Holocaust survivor. She survived with her family 22 months in a hole, not in a camp, in a hole in Europe. Uh, that's why I have stories that start my Lithuanian family's theater of death, because they were in this hole for 22 months. Three of the five kids survived. Two of the kids didn't survive. It was hell, and we can get into it at some other time. But I have a specific story about my mom. So and my dad was connected to loosely connected to the mob. My grandparents on my dad's side had an interstate trucking business. So, so one time my dad came home and he's covered in blood, and my grandmother's screaming at him, "I just bought you that shirt. That's a new shirt. What are you doing?" And my dad says, "But Ma, it's not my blood." and she quietly takes the shirt, and it's never mentioned again.
Lights
But
it on fire.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So so that's who he is. So loosely connected. I don't know how much,
Right.
but uh I came home with a black eye, and my dad said, "Who did that to you?" And I said, "Johnny, from across the street." And he said, "Go knock on Johnny's door, ask his mom that you need to see Johnny, and do not come home till you punch him in the nose."
Mm.
So I did that. And and he was not going to let me in till he got the frantic call from Johnny's mother saying what happened. But my mom, so now I'm living with my mom in the Bronx, and remember, I'm in the South Bronx, and I'm having a shit time in the school with the rabbis hitting me, and then I get out of school, and the kids are seeing this weird Orthodox kid thinking that I'm an Orthodox kid. So I'm always in fights, so with groups of kids. And my mom says, the next time you get in a fight with a group of kids, you grab one of them, you grab the leader, figure out who the leader is, and you drag them into the middle. I'm 8 years old when she tells me this.
Mm.
Drag them into the middle of the street in traffic and hold them there
Mm.
with cars coming.
Right.
And that's the difference between that's who my mom is. So she's got and there are other stories over time that I'll tell you about my mom's ability to have this weird kind of strength and independence. I almost think that she knew that I didn't belong in the yeshiva. I almost think that she wanted to teach me a lesson. These people are
Mm.
supposed to be your people to protect you, and they're not going to. And then when you leave the school, you got a whole nother community who are also not going to protect you. You're on your own in this fucking life. I kind of
Yeah.
think I almost feel like she was trying to teach me some weird lesson like that.
I
Right.
have a weird, funny turn to the story. My
Yeah,
grandpa was fairly tough guy, the oldest of 13, and they were not wealthy at all.
yeah.
Um, so he gets beat up by some kid in school, and his dad says, "Take your brother down there because he's way tougher than you, and have him fight this kid hand for you." So him and his brother go down there, and the dude beat them both up.
Mm. The best laid plans.
That's an important lesson right there.
That is an important lesson.
Yeah. I was just thinking, from ages like 0 to 5, in my case particularly, my mom had tremendous influence and she taught me things. So I could see a situation where I really think your mom or your parents really mold you to be the person you are initially from ages 0 to 5 as you enter school. So you're coming into school with their learnings, and and I can see the point where, well, if anyone deviates from anything you were learned from 0 to 5, well, that doesn't make sense, and you probably have some reasons and could elaborate on why it doesn't make sense and have some interesting conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, except no one in school was interested in talking to me. They understood that they when I was 8 years old, I brought in a birthday cake. And the rabbi says, "Is it kosher?" And I said, "Yes, it's kosher." And as it's my birthday and the celebration starts, "It's Larry's birthday. Happy birthday. He brought in a cake. I don't know if it's kosher." And none of the kids ate it, so I picked it up and threw it at him.
Mm.
You know, and
And
uh,
Right.
and that
you
was
know,
another big good lesson for me. You know,
yeah, and so my mom is like super religious and a good person, a super nice person. So I never had, my childhood was the exact opposite of that, Larry, where it was like totally sheltered childhood, and everybody was generally fairly nice. I think I got a fight in the second grade or some deal like that, and then I didn't
Right.
fight anybody till high school again. But although me and my neighbor fought all the time.
Mm.
And so I wasn't, but I look at it and say I always made like jokes about stuff, and it's still the same thing. So a buddy of mine who John knows, and we're not going to say his name on here, but the went to a Christian college in Cincinnati, Xavier University, and he's a big supporter of their football team and the whole thing. Really, really, kind of like you would be with the Mets or
Yeah.
whatever, dude. But he's got their little the flags of the basketball team and all this kind of stuff like that. So I just moved my office next to him, and I kind of give him a bunch of crap, Han, about the fact that they were Jesuits, and jokingly, Jesuits supposedly kind of like invented fractional banking and all this kind of stuff like that. And are kind of a secretive order or whatever. So I'm always about the secret handshake. So he leaves, like, I just wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood. He leaves the Jesuit magazine on my desk. And I freaking pick it up and I turn it over and I'm like, oh, look, man, it's got a mail order offer for 1995 for 57 secret handshakes of the Jesuits.
No, really?
No, I just
He's
made that up.
making it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
the
good.
the mail order offered.
The Jesuits actually get great education. They
Yeah,
Fordham University in New York is Jesuit, and but in general, I've read other things about Jesuits where they get a broad education. They don't have such a. They might have a secret handshake, but they gain
uh,
knowledge about other people's handshakes as well.
I am just I am just blowing him crap
Yeah, yeah.
because
Right. Right.
I have that I actually know nothing other
But
than they
but
were
he's
the folks
probably
that led.
is he a knowledgeable guy and seems broad minded about things?
Yeah, he's a sports fanatic. That's why so, and he's well educated. That's a respected Xavier is a respected university. Xavier
Yes.
University is a
Yeah,
respected university. So I mean, he went there for whatever business or computer science or whatever it is. But
I've heard nothing
and
but good
I
stuff
don't
about
think
Chisholm.
he's like indoctrinated into anything other than I I'm a booster of the football team. I'm a booster of the basketball team. I'm, all kinds of stuff. But I have to, I just find out little things like that and like to tease people
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
about it. And so I got teased back, and then it was like, oh, this is too good. And they mail order offer for 57 secret handshakes.
I like that.
I thought what you were going to do, C squared. What I thought you were going to do, C squared, is open it right up in the middle and go, this is the weirdest centerfold I have ever seen.
I might have to do that tomorrow, Mr. Cat. That's hilarious.
That was what I thought you were going to do. And the first thing that popped into my mind was
Oh
just
my
take it right
God,
into the
dude.
middle, go like this, and go, this is the weirdest centerfold I've ever seen.
Everybody's a comedian.
Yeah.
Well, I have another idea for you. Does he ever have a party in his house, like for a game or people going or anything
I
like
have
that?
never been invited to
Oh,
one.
okay. Oh, okay. Well, if you
I
ever get
wonder
invited to a
why.
party, bring a couple of porno magazines and leave them in the bathroom.
Oops.
Hilarious. Whoops.
like
Yeah,
like a
I'm
like
thinking
Hustler.
the little wife, because one thing I always do, Larry, is when people say, "Oh, I can't go," John will say, "I can't go," or freaking one of the other guys in the freaking band will say, "Oh, I can't do that." And it's like, "Give me the phone. Your wife loves me. I'll
Yeah,
fix this for
yeah,
you."
that's your famous one.
You won't have to come home for days.
Yeah.
So, speaking,
On
you
medicine.
mentioned the band. Do you want to talk about your band at all, C Squared?
I have a couple of different bands, and one is that well, Mr. K has been heavily involved in all of them, so he is like the number one person to come hang out and provide support to the band. And but one is a jam band, and they're kind of winding down because of some members having conflicts, not conflicts with each other, health conflicts and stuff of that
Mm.
nature. And so that's why one is winding down. And the other band is just a rock cover band, but they all do well and have pretty good following too. And so.
Can I? Do you mind talking just a little bit? I know we're on short leash tonight, but maybe just a little bit about your band, how you started, what inspired you.
Well, so I've
When did you first have a band? What's your
Well,
story?
so my first band was in the 80s, and now I have dated myself, Larry. The I have had probably 30 bands. One band did really well from the 90s to maybe 2004. From the mid 90s, that was the longest running band, and they produced festivals and they did really
Wow,
well, and we actually warmed up for some national acts and stuff like
that's
that.
exciting.
That was exciting. We had, thousands of.
Was it still was that already a time where labels were not signing, or were they still signing, but were there
They
limitations?
were. It was right when the time that they were signing, but they were signing Seattle grunge
Yeah,
bands,
right.
and we were a jam band. I have always been in like improvisational rock, jazz-ish jam bands, and that's kind of what I do. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, I actually do a bunch of other stuff, like produce stuff more like what I played for you, which is
yeah.
very produced sectional type stuff. But I only do that recording by myself. The thought of any band stuff is about live performance, is about that energy, is about the waves, is about you know what this is a kind of like the Grateful Dead mentality, which is this is the while we could play a bunch of songs that you've heard before, there we're only going to play them like this time. Maybe there's a jam, maybe it's short, maybe it goes on for an hour, and we're like interwoven into this this deep jam, and somehow it comes back out of that jam and then back into the song to wind it up, and type of scenario. Or maybe the band String Cheese Incident will do like 5 songs, speaking of like the Naked Lunch or books like that, and we'll do 5 songs and they're all interwoven into each other, and then they come back out in the same order and in the
Right.
reverse order in which they came in.
I
And
love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
a very cool type.
The jam
That
band
I've
he's
always
in.
been attracted to that level of jam band, and there's bands like that, like String Cheese Incident, Mo, Widespread Panic, Tedeschi Trucks does some of that type of stuff. All those, that whole circuit of the immortal Warren Haynes and bands that do that type of stuff.
And most jazz bands from the 60s, 50s, 60s on
Right,
did that.
right, exactly. And even though it was you got the when you got the Peanuts version of Vince Giraldi, which was all cleaned up and stuff like that, when you had Vince Giraldi playing live, it was a completely different story. If you expected the canned version of that, you were like completely, or Oscar Peterson or
Yeah.
players like that that were just absolutely what you are seeing now is is right now. You might see me next week, but
Yeah.
it's not what it was last week.
Right,
Yeah. I
right.
mean, it's things like you hear that wrong note. I'm going with it. I'm taking that wrong note and going in a direction with that wrong note right now and make it
Right,
fit, make it see where this wrong note takes me.
right. That's exactly it,
Yeah.
Larry. That's exactly it. And
Yeah,
and
and the jam band Chris is in is great because there's two reasons. One, you never see the same show twice, and there's a lot of room what I would say for improvisation and like you said, there's a structure to the song, but hey, we may go like 7 minutes on a 3 minute song and stuff like that. So I really, it's really great seeing them because you're given the opportunity to improv a bit and even like I've seen you guys do, we're doing this set list and you never stick to that set list. It's always like the bass player will go into a song and it's like that wasn't on the set list and the rest of you are like, all right, well, we know the
here
song,
we go.
here we go.
So speaking of set list, we have a bit of a set list for tonight too. And I did want to get to Chris, you had a story that you were starting to tell before we started, and I think that one of the things that I always want to talk to you guys about is AI and the evolution of AI and what's happening, and you had a story to tell us. Do you want to fill us in a little bit
Yeah,
on it?
so I mean recently within the last week, and this is kind of a buzz between me and Mr. K and a bunch of other groups, and you got a copy of it, Larry, about a model, an AI model escaping and then hacking on the largest repository of open source AI models.
Right,
And it is
which is hilarious because we spoke about it last week, and you said it could never happen, but I
well,
believe
And
that
it happened.
that it didn't really happen, did it?
it did, and you're exactly right. I
We do predict the future on this podcast, right?
Yeah,
C squared
that's
we
exact.
have in the past.
We have multiple times. We've predicted anything from stock market crashes to earthquakes to all kinds of stuff. Now we're getting that information off the internet. But the bottom line is that off the interweb, the almighty interweb.
Right.
And so but from that aspect, Larry, me and John have done years and years, actually decades. I'm heading on 4 decades of IT. And so you have a pipeline to do deployments, and you could have many, many pipelines to do deployments to different servers and stuff of that nature. But you coded that. You saw somehow that was coded. There was no knowledge of find a server in the universe and deploy myself to that server. It just does not happen. That does not happen. So number two, in order to hack a site, you would use hacker tools. Somehow those hacker tools got installed and 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 there was some logic on how to utilize those hacker tools. The model does not have a concept of hacking. It did not say, I'm going to go hack those websites and then go download a bunch of hacker tools to actually do that and then go out and hack that website. There is that the story is implausible, man. You might as well have wrote the story in Sterling Fest. Dude, that's
Yeah.
about how plausible this is in reality. So what I said, and I will say this will get us in trouble. If the DNI is not investigating this and come to some conclusion in the very near future, they are complicit. Because there is
Right.
no way. There is no way. It is not plausible.
But they can make anything plausible now, right? I mean, we can be told, how many lies are we told in a week where pretty much, most people, even when we know it's a lie, there's not an outcry anymore. It doesn't, we don't really have outcries of lies anymore on the basis of where someone has to repent. There's no
Right.
Right.
there's no repentance.
You, Larry,
There's no
you have
repentance.
nailed it. And I said this to somebody the other day. And if you don't, if this doesn't look like the fall of Rome to you, what were the two core components of the fall of Rome? And the two core components of the fall of Rome, there were actually three core components of the fall of Rome, but and I'll just say all three of them, even though I have been discussing two. Rampant corruption.
Right.
So the point of it is that everything was such, there's no reason to discuss the lies because it's all a lie.
Right.
And when
Right.
everything's a lie, how would you point out one lie and make it even relevant? Two is currency debasement, which appears to be happening not just in the United States,
Oh my
globally.
God, globally.
Global currency debasement because the central banking systems are interconnected via the Bank of International Settlements. And number three is overextension of your military to try
Yes.
and keep the empire compliant. And
Yes.
so, which one of those would we like to say is not occurring, right?
Right. Mm.
Yeah,
It's a little
and it
scary.
does it now how long did it take for the fall of Rome? Is
Well,
your
that's a great point. That's the best question ever, Larry. I
Yes.
believe 400 years.
yeah.
So so
Right.
yeah. So what would I call that? And that's why I made a huge mistake after 2009, when you talk about investing and currency debasement, thinking that the collapse was here. And what you had was the most exponential growth in the stock market that the market has ever recorded. So, so when we talk about 400 years, these things are not what I thought they were. It is a ultra slow motion,
Yes.
2 frame a second train wreck. And
Yes.
My follow-up question is, are we sure that the fall of the Roman Empire actually happened?
oh, and they're and they're not the Vatican and the Bank of England. Oh, Larry, did you open a can of worms? The Royal Crown of England, the Bank of England, the Vatican Bank.
Yeah, yeah, at Vatican Bank.
The
Well,
Vatican
and
Bank.
so you look at this and say, this is also, I won't say this because I have not read this book, but eventually I will. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. The the thought of it is, and I'm not sure that this is in this book, but what it became is uh loose control opposed to absolute control. And the bottom line is loose control. And this goes back to the beginning of your thought and question, Larry. Loose control is so much better than than actual hard physical control of people, because it costs you so much less effort to maintain loose control, because it is a propaganda war of lies.
Yeah.
And that's then there's the end. It's much easier to wage the propaganda war of lies than it is to come actually take over your country, which
Right,
we are
right.
seeing with the extension of empires right now.
Yeah. Maybe this is a good point to transition to the a discussion of the TV show Soap.
Go. Yeah, yeah, right.
A different kind of soap opera.
Well, and so
Yes.
no, we can go right into that, because Grandpa was way ahead of his time, having dementia. The the general who wanted to be
Yes.
saluted at breakfast, if you
Yeah.
recall that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, uh, essentially, he was in having dementia. He was in a different time there, Larry. Think about that. He
Yeah.
was in a different space and time, because he would say all kinds. He would eventually tell them to get under the table because they were being bombed. He would say all kinds of derogatory things to Benson. He would freaking lived in his reality was completely different than the reality that everybody else was perceiving at the table.
Hey,
And I know
Spammy.
that's that's
Spammy.
a
Yes.
curveball.
I was wondering if you could give us, for those people who aren't familiar with the show, an overview so that
Sure.
they can understand the show and why, and in our continuous uh programming of lost shows.
All righty. So Soap was a show that ran from 1977 to 81. It was created by Susan Harris. Susan Harris, prior to doing Soap, wrote on a lot of popular 70s shows, some of which include Love American Style, All in the Family, The Partridge Family. And she also wrote the famous and controversial abortion episode for on Maude. Uh, let's
Which is
see.
amazing.
Originally, the she had in prior to it even being televised, she had written 5 seasons of Soap. Unfortunately, it was canceled after 4, which is why there is so many unresolved storylines, because the show was canceled and the 5th season never ran. But after just a little bit about Susan Harris and her shows after, of course, what's really wild is 2 years into Soap, Benson was left the show because it got spun off into the series Benson, which ran for 7 years. And Susan Harris wrote and created The Golden Girls, which was hugely successful. So a little bit about Susan Harris's post
Do you
Soap.
know who her son is?
Now,
Do you know who her son is? Sam Harris, who is
the Flash
just
Gordon.
no. Sam Harris is a modern day. He leads people on meditation
Oh wow.
paths.
Oh,
He,
Okay.
he's that guy. He has his own podcast. Extremely popular with helping people to develop their meditation skills.
Nice,
that's
nice.
fabulous. That's an area that I research, Larry. So that's fabulous. I will say, so now that Mr. K, aka Spammy, the has outlined the show. You go from the general's reality, which is World War II, to the 4th season, where Bert has been abducted by aliens and replaced by an alien double that looks just like him that impregnates his wife. So there was in 4 seasons, there was such a wide range of thought
Oh yeah.
patterns that went on there. And right around the time that that came out, if you remember the ultra popular television show series called Dallas, which
Yeah.
everybody wanted to be a rich cowboy from Texas
Right.
for about 2 years, and and so and it's ironic how much television at that point in time. Speaking of brainwashing, controlling populations and stuff. How many people bought cowboy hat? How many people bought Stetson had the best 2 years of their entire existence when that television show ran, the hat manufacturer. So you look at that aspect and say it was this mass brainwashing of being an oil magnet. But back to the soap scenario, the big episode of Dallas was Who Shot JR, and at the same time, I believe that that was happening, the parody in soap was both Jessica, the mother, and I think it was Corinne, the daughter, were taking tennis lessons
Yes.
from what was his name? He eventually became Dan Tana,
Bob
the
Urich. Bob Urich.
Robert
Robert
Urich.
Urich.
That's right. Robert Urich eventually became Dan Tana, the private eye in Las Vegas. But before that, he was the tennis instructor who had a front door and a back door to his house, and nobody ever got instructions in tennis. You entered through the front door, you stayed a half an hour, and you left through the back door because his next appointment was coming through the front door. And but
Right.
eventually in soap, I believe in the same year of Who Shot JR, somebody killed the tennis pro and
Yes.
nobody could
Yes.
figure it out. And then there
Yeah.
was the trial of Jessica for essentially potentially being the murderer of Robert Urich, the tennis pro.
Do
Yeah.
you know how
Yeah.
that was supposed to originally go down?
I don't.
It was supposed to be the murderer was the guy with the puppet with the ventriloquist,
Oh yeah,
Chuck.
yeah, yeah.
Chuck and
and the
Bob,
Bob.
Chuck and Bob.
ventriloquist was supposed to go on in court and talk about the murder and point to Bob.
Oh wow.
And I
That's
think that is the
right.
most brilliant. I wish that's how that ended up.
I can't
Yes.
believe that they didn't. If she had a fifth episode in or fifth season in the
This
can,
season.
how could you not? That is one of the most brilliant freaking shows ever created.
Yeah, I
It-
mean, I think I'm
Yeah.
going to take some of the rejection stuff that was supposed to be on soap and write a Max Serling fest out of
the
that because just to have a ventriloquist puppet point be on the stand and point to the ventriloquist and say he
Yes.
did it.
That's
That to
hilarious.
me, that is really funny. And that show, but one of the speaking of like society wise, the whole thing with Billy Crystal plays a gay man,
Okay. The
Yes.
first
and
gay man on
First gay
television.
character
Right?
in TV.
and
Yep.
and they did, and it was being challenged by the gay rights community as well as the religious community, and that's kind of where the story that I was writing today, even about Sterling Fest, I said, that both sides can have an equal opposition to a same storyline, and I found that interesting that could happen, and but they did an excellent job with Billy Crystal's character. He
Can
eventually
I
raises.
comment on that real quick?
Sure.
There, just the two comments on not soap, on what you just said, Larry, which is both sides that may not be united join together to oppose something that they view as a threat to them, and that the term strange bedfellows
Yeah.
and an enemy of my enemy is my friend for the time being.
Wow.
and and
Really, that
so
well put. Well put.
Well,
and so you look at that aspect and say that fortunately those coalitions always collapse over time, which is great. That's the best news I've heard all week. you know,
Yeah.
so during the,
And
go
you were
ahead,
going to
Larry.
say,
Go ahead, Larry.
oh, I was, it was just, and then he gets to raise a child on the show too. And then there
Yes.
was an ABC poll. How do you think about a gay man raising a child? And the news was positive that they all loved this character, and so this our this world historically has just changed. Incremental changes, small incremental changes for the positive happen at the same time that massive destructive changes happen at the same time. But there are these moments, these brilliant moments where things become about about peaceful recognition of the other.
and
You know
so
that he
so from that aspect, Larry, I just have to say one thing, and this was a great lead into that aspect, which is originally those movements have excellent validity and change things. Unfortunately, they always get taken over by power and big money behind the scenes and redirected into some cult esque, uh, violent type of type of movement when they were originally. So what it is, and you look at this and say, this is not a recent thing. You look at communism, which I am absolutely against, believe doesn't work. But Lenin had an idea. He was a writer and he had
John Lennon,
ideas. Yeah, no, no,
John
no, no,
Lennon.
no.
John.
Yeah, yeah, not that, not that Lenin, man. We need to go back a little bit further.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Lenin, the was a writer and had concepts and ideas about communism. The thought of the revolution absolutely was financed by evil powers. And in a very short period of time of them taking control, Lenin was no longer involved or in any of that type of in any piece of the power structure. You had somebody like Stalin involved who was a um, uh, dictatorial bureaucrat, right? So from that
Horribly
aspect, you
evil.
had every good intention from Lenin. Not that I concur with any of his thoughts, man, because of what happens in reality. They would have been better in a fantasy novel than they would have been in a reality scenario because the implementation of that is next to impossible because you have bureaucrats like dictatorial bureaucrats like Stalin who will
There's
hijack.
always every single group, e- every religious group, every political, they every group has always started out, for the most part, thinking positively and wanting to do good. And it just seems that when a group gets big enough or too big, there are certain types of people throughout the history of mankind that try to rise within the group that have ulterior motives that are situated towards their own ideology of using the group. Now it becomes, instead of the group, groups want to do well, want to do good things. They do good things for a while, and then they eventually get co-opted by others. And it seems no matter what that group is, that happens throughout history. And that's part of the evolutionary scale of what we should understand in life is start a group and then quit while you're ahead.
Right.
Well,
Right.
ironically enough, Larry, there is a book about, and I don't know the title off the top of my head, about be the people that become C-level executives, and particularly CEOs of
Yeah.
companies, and it basically says their personality profile in lots of cases match the same personality profile as a serial killer.
Yeah,
So
we
that
mentioned
they
that
have
in
no remorse about anything that they have done or do, and they are willing to take all risks to get. That's why they keep elevating up the plane, because they have no assessment of they have 100% risk tolerance. You could say somebody has a 0% risk tolerance. They're the kind of person that puts their money in the bank. They have 100% risk tolerance. There is no risk too great to get to the next milestone.
it's so odd how that develops, like the way no one took responsibility for the subprime mortgage fiasco. No one went to jail. There's a knowledge that is known that when you are once you are in a group that's getting really big, that there's no one actually who you can point a finger to take responsibility for anything.
Right.
Oh, now, one more comment on that, Larry. So that becomes the whole concept of a limited liability corporation, or what is able to get into politics now, the 503Cs, which are the anonymous donors who can provide billions of dollars without
Yeah.
disclosing their donors to political groups. You look at that aspect, and it is exactly what you just pointed out. There is no one that is culpable at this point in time, and that's the whole point. If the corporation does something like in the 70s, start start a river on fire because they've been dumping chemicals in there for whatever, and how many hundreds of thousands of people got poisoned from drinking that water, type of scenario. There is no personal liability or culpability for that, no criminal culpability for that, and that is the whole danger and point of a limited liability corporation, is that at at the worst case scenario, you can seize the assets of the corporation and collapse the corporation, but there is nobody culpable for the real damage. If the assets will not cover the real damage, then the bottom line is that sorry about your luck.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie A Civil Action? Because that plays it to exactly what you said, C squared.
Oh,
Tell me
real? I
about
have
that
not
movie.
seen that.
So the
Tell
movie
us
A
about it.
Civil Action has John Travolta. Is I don't is it based off a true story? It could have been. Let's say it wasn't based off a true story, but it's really realistic. Anyways, uh, John Travolta represents people who have been dying of drinking poisoned water. And he thinks he's going to win. And he does, massive spoiler, 1999 film, folks. Uh, he doesn't win. And it's a really good movie about how this is a slam dunk. He's going to win. And he's a good lawyer, too. And you can't go up against these companies and win. To C Squared's point, there was nobody culpable. Who was it? They couldn't find the person or the person responsible, or what we say sometimes, the throat to choke here. And it was obvious that there was a crime perpetrated. They couldn't find the person responsible or culpability to get justice. So highly recommend it.
So now the question becomes a serious, interesting one. What makes us continue to challenge a system in which we know that the probability of winning is against us? And how many people have given up on thinking that it's even worth a challenge?
And there is the positive light. Larry, you just wound that up in the positive light of human 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 will and positive thinking. How many lawyers have represented people with no money? How many knowing that their chances of getting paid were probably zero, you know, or the aspect of how many people have turned down a a offer to exit by a corporation and make money to and get reimbursed for that thing. How many people have said, no, I'm still taking this all the way because I will find the culpable party for this. It was
Proof.
never about me getting the money. You have
Right.
mistakenly thought that my human will and endurance was about money, that I could be bought out, and I can't be bought out. I essentially am doing this on something the that the ultra side of this, the people who represent a psychopathic personality in charge of things because they have risen to the top, they have no concept of of conscience, or they don't know what conscience is, and they have no idea about people's will to do something on principle, opposed to nothing else other than principle. And that person, Larry, is unbeatable. The person that
Yes.
operates on principle is unbeatable. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we got to the state of the evolutionary process of what I was saying before, how even a show like Soap that had no recognition that a gay couple could take care of a kid, and then after this outrageous soap opera happens, and that you know, the way Billy Crystal played the role, the way it was written for him, and then it's shown that a man can be gay and raise a family, and now we live in a society where that's happening, and the statistics show that gay marriages with children, the children are fine,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and so, you know, and but what battles? The battle is severe and strong, and a lot of things go wrong, and then there
Mhm.
are just those moments that, and I want to say it, those Christ-like moments of realization that something occasionally happens that is positive, and that you just have to be strong-willed. So how do I mean, and that's kind of what our problem now in our society is, that a lot of people don't have the strength to still stay strong, find uh and writing or music or dance, or I
Oh,
think a lot of it comes down to art and the imagination. Like, how
Right.
strong is your art and imagination to carry you through the times when you are going to be disrespected and not be treated well, or or understand that the powers that be are misusing their powers, and still remain positive, not be embittered by it, not look at that stuff, but look at what can we do? What what story can I come up with this week? What musical what musical mistake have I made that I can then turn into a hit pop song?
And
It's
ironic, Larry, if I can make two comments about that.
yeah, of
One is
course.
how much history has been uh has has been actually put into books, embedded in nonfiction books, but were based on analogies to try to instill an idea or relate an idea to the public, but it was not as straightforward. You had to read into it a little bit. And they claim the Wizard of Oz is has all kinds of analogies in it about different things, about the characters, about the three characters of the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion, what they actually meant. The whole thought about the golden road, and originally it was silver slippers. They changed it to ruby slippers, so it was about also about gold and silver, stuff like that. But I don't want to get too far down into
Those
that.
books are really weird. I don't know. Have you ever read any of the Oz books?
I have read some of them in the beginning. I
Oh
don't think
my
I
God.
finished The
They're just
Wizard of Oz.
they are just some of the weirdest books ever
So
written.
yeah, yeah. So and some of these analogies in music too. But what you say on the other hand of this is there was just a story, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. I'm probably going to get some of the facts wrong on this story of somebody down in Florida on a university and living on a university campus, going to school there. The cops come in, they're like, there is somebody wandering around here that is highly dangerous. Go outside. And he essentially starts a fight with the cops, eventually gets tased, tells them to get out, like they're going to leave with an intruder on the call, tells them to get out, eventually attacks him. They have to tase him. This is not the person they got the call about that is the dangerous person. This is just some other nut job who essentially lives there, man, on campus, and eventually gets arrested. And he's yelling things like, "My parents are going to sue you." Some rich. So I believe that another issue is that when you look at what has happened to society from the from positive change like civil rights and stuff of that nature in the 60s, we have transitioned to this place where the people entering movements are being fed even bigger lies and do not have the intelligence of the people conducting this podcast right now. They do not have they are not well read. They do not understand anything about history. They do not, so they just suck this stuff up and they are borderline crazy. I don't know how else to put it. They're borderline crazy. So, from that aspect, you look at this and say, if you were being arrested in the 60s, you would have been arrested for protesting something like civil rights, a very valid cause that
Right.
had a meaning. This person got arrested because he thought in his own delusional mind that he was going to tell the police to leave a public space and they were going to listen to him, and that it was all right to physically attack law enforcement. and and so you look at it and you're like, what is the difference in 60 years, because it's been 60 years since
Yep. Since the civil rights.
civil rights, what has transpired in society in 60 years that went from, I have this moral cause that is worth sacrificing for because I have analyzed historical facts and current society and say this is worth me risking something for, to 60 years later I have a group of insane people that are I have an organization funded by a bunch of globalist financiers, and the bulk of the organization is a bunch of crazy people.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, I think that's our job here is to help people to help educate people through, satire shows like the Soap and the Mary Hartman and I was thinking for next week that we do Fridays, that show
Oh,
Fridays.
yes. That was a great show. I
Yeah,
remember that show.
and I think that will be kind of another level. I think satire is something that helps people, although people can confuse satire for reality in the wrong way too. They cannot understand satire, but I mean, I think that is part of what I'm hoping that we can do here, and that's why I've taken like Rod Serling's idea, and I'm sure there are people who are not going to like that I've come up with Max Serling Fest as a concept for telling Serling type stories or updating the stories, but if someone's better than me at it, please do it. Go ahead.
Right. Right.
Write. Write the court case story of the ventriloquist dummy who rats out on the ventriloquist.
and,
You know, I think laughter is a big part of an educational process that is missing right now. I think we've talked about
Yes.
that before, where there's not enough of a sense of humor of allowing people to express themselves the way they want to, or it's misunderstood, or it gets complicated. I get that, and I think that's what we continue. I want to end tonight's show with a joke.
Go
If,
for
that
it.
that's
if
fine.
that's
Hey,
okay.
hey, Larry, can I
Yeah.
tell one
Yeah.
more crossover story? I promise
Sure.
it'll be 1 minute here.
Yeah.
So I watch, being a jam band and Grateful Dead aficionado. Um, I watch a guy named Big Steve Parrish who has been there from the beginning. He's got a podcast. He essentially started with them, I think, in the '60s, moving their equipment and being one of their stage managers. And Big Steve talks about, and this is this is a big deal. Bill Graham, the promoter Bill Graham, changed rock and roll.
Yeah.
Airplane, the Dad, just all this kind of stuff. Owned all the Fillmores, owned Winterland, all that type of stuff like this. So in the early '70s, he buys the Fillmore West in San Francisco and starts doing shows there with the Dad and all kinds of other people.
Oh yeah,
you know,
everyone.
yeah,
Hendrix.
everybody. Bill Graham was the man. Bill
Yeah,
Graham was the man.
Iron Butterfly. I'm trying to remember the posters.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Even Skinner, Nauman Brothers, even
Yeah,
bands like that. Bill
right.
did it all. He was
Yeah,
the man. He was the man.
yeah.
So and turned down the ability to be way bigger. A corporation wanted to finance him, and he said absolutely not. So but anyway, so a little church buys the building next door to the Fillmore West. A little church, let's see, named the People's Temple. And
People's
so
Temple.
the People's Temple with a nice middle-aged man named Jim Jones. And so Jim hates Bill Graham and hates all this type of stuff. So Steve Parrish is telling this story. Jim Jones goes and buys a shortwave radio, and every time a band comes on, Jim Jones hacks the PA with his shortwave radio and starts like saying all this type of stuff like, "You're worshiping Satan," that kind of stuff like that, man. Until finally, I guess Bill Graham gets like the FCC to go over and take his radio, his shortwave radio gun, and say if he ever makes a transmission on a shortwave radio again, they're taking him to prison. The bottom line is, it's hilarious. It, it's scary in one sense because we all know what happened to the
Yeah,
People's Temple. But previous to that, you have this person that is obviously a complete nut job. It's obvious that he's a nut job. He buys the building next door to one of the biggest rock and roll venues and the greatest promoter in the history of rock and roll, and essentially thinks he's going to get in the way and stop that. And so just kind of a weird, funny story. And
yeah.
Steve, if you haven't watched Steve Parrish's podcast, Steve is an icon, dude. He is a freaking icon.
Have to check it out.
All right.
And
So,
winding it down, there's your joke, Larry. And
okay.
here's Larry.
So, there's a kid walking down on a country road, and he sees a farmer sitting on a bench, and he sees a a three-legged pig, and he says, "Hey, Mister, why's the pig only got three legs?" The farmer says, "Well, son, this is a special pig. We were I was out on the field. The tractor fell on me. The pig saw it. He ran to my wife, and he got my wife, and it saved my life." He said, "Yeah, but Mister, why do you only have three legs?" And the guy says, "The pig smelled that the gas was on the stove." And the place would have blown up, and he got me, and I came home, and I was able to turn off the gas on the stove, and he saved that. "Yeah, but Mister, why does the pig only have three legs?" And the farmer says, "Son, a pig like that you don't eat all at once."
That's a good one. We'll end with that, folks. You
Yeah.
can get us at Gmail, one for the road podcast at gmail.com. You can go to our website. It's onefortheroad.net. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are on various audio platforms also where you don't get the video, but you get the velvet tones of Larry C squared and I. Those platforms include Spotify, RSS, Podbean, Amazon Music, and Apple Music. For the rest of the gang, this is Mr. K. Have a good week.
Thanks,
Okay,
folks.
bye, everyone.
Take care, everybody.